These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
Today's episode of The Other Stories is The Spirit Artist, written by Siri Harrison and narrated by Erica Ventura.
Summer. One day, I found something on the internet, an ad for a psychic soulmate finder. As my fingers hovered over the trackpad of my Dell, I considered if the operation was legit. My hand acted before my brain. After staring at my computer screen all day, my eyes were on fire. I closed it, stared into the dark living room for a moment, and shuffled to my bedroom to sleep as I waited for the spirit artist to do her magic. The process took 24 hours, according to the website. I passed the day with buzzing excitement in my stomach, which made my head clearer. Working at the garage, I felt more purposeful and methodical than ever. "Best mechanic in the game right here," announced Tucker, snapping and pointing finger guns toward me. I beamed at the customers who dropped off their car. Even as I was plucking dead mice from the air filter, my euphoria persisted. I returned home to an empty inbox. There was still time, but disappointment settled to the bottom of my stomach in a tickly swoop. The next morning, my fingers stretched out to brush the cold sheets. The room was dark and still. I felt a pleasant sort of flustered since I had dreamt of encounters with good-looking men. My hair was plastered to my forehead. I rolled out of bed, one quivering calf after another, and plodded barefoot into the living room. My computer was waiting where I'd left it on the coffee table. Goosebumps sprouted on my arms, and a strange smile crept along my cheeks. They ached a little. It felt like a pickaxe breaking into a stone mold. I sat down in my grizzled armchair. It smelled like Cheeto dust and sweat, and groaned as I reached for the computer. I stood to grab it, but paused and headed for the window instead. I opened the blinds to celebrate the occasion. With my slick palms pressed to the windowsill, I gazed out into the Pickett's yard. Their 3 kids were running around the swing set, shrieking. We hadn't said more than 10 words at a time to each other since they moved in. That was a good day. Tucker and I went to the Pickett's for a barbecue. I could always cook well if I wasn't cooking for myself. It would have been nice to talk with them more, but I was always busy at the garage, and the Pickett's were busy doing whatever they did. But smelling the mowed summer grass, and seeing that bright green and all those intersecting white fences felt like nostalgia. My eyes rose to the Detroit skyline and the halo of smog that surrounded it. The Pickett's children squealed, and I lowered my eyes to see them collapsed on top of each other, caught in a play tussle. I went back to my computer and held down the power button. An email was waiting. I opened my inbox and clicked on the first email which awaited me. News of my soulmate. After skimming a chunky paragraph describing the artist's process, I scrolled. My breathing stuttered for a moment as the top of the colored pencil drawing came into view. I scrolled the email the rest of the way, and there it was. My shoulders spasmed and my head reeled back. I straightened in the chair to create more distance between me and the screen. As soon as I took in my soulmate's face, my trembling fingers rushed to scroll the email right back up. As I felt my heart pulsing and my brain melting down my throat, I no longer felt alone in the apartment. I looked over my shoulder, into the entrance to my bedroom. A corner of the bed was visible from the doorway, silent and cold. I imagined this person lying on the bed, their shiny, beady black eyes staring at me. A thin smile strained against layers of spray tan orange and organ pink skin grafts melted together. "Come here," they said. "Aren't you tired after that long day at work? Let me rub your shoulders. Come on, come kiss me." The contents of my stomach roiled with repulsion. I forced myself to my feet, ripped a pillow off the couch, and chucked it at the wall. "What the fuck?" My shoulders slumped as I heaved breaths. The deformed, monstrous face was tattooed to my brain. Autumn. The months passed in hazy, sweaty exhaustion. I'd gone to work each day, sticky from the sheets which swarmed me all through the night, and underslept due to the rattling of my broken fan, which worked with every bit of power it was permitted to cool me. It was fruitless. I came home every day even sweatier than when I woke up, and took cold showers, only to be drenched in sweat again by the time I laid in bed. When autumn woke me one morning, as a fierce gust of wind blowing through the window, I luxuriated in bed and risked being late to the garage. I finally dragged myself up. I didn't feel hungry. I tried to drink a mug of coffee, but poured it down the drain after one sip. Everything was on the precipice of change. I locked the apartment door and jogged down the stairs. Work was more tolerable that day. At least I couldn't see the rippling heat waves coming off the pavement. I worked alone. Tucker didn't come near me so much anymore, after an ill-fated hookup back in July, in the aftermath of that dreadful email. My priorities shifted when I met Anna. I'd seen her before, with a bisexual flag shirt. Again, feeling compelled to take action by an unusual burst of energy, I asked her to dinner. She had been moving cleverly past the garage. When I say Anna moved cleverly, I mean her shoulder blades were thrown back a little with each step, because she twisted to the sides more than usual, and her fingers weren't hanging or swinging dully as many people's were while they walked. Instead, the thumb was almost pressing into the pad of her middle finger, so it looked like she was pinching something. Her wrists were so thin, coming out of her 3/4-length sleeves. She had a proud chest, and it made me feel more energetic than nervous. By asking her out, I played into the masculine look that my baseball cap, jeans, calloused, greasy hands, and 9-to-5 job expressed. Anna looked me straight in the eyes when I did. As I tried to match the sincerity of my words with the sincerity of her watchful brown eyes, it seemed like she was trying to one-up the same sincerity I was faking for her. Anna's face kept shifting, teasing me back and forth, until she cornered me with a smile. She let me finish my drawn-out question before answering. I came to learn that Patience envied her. The answer was yes. She was free tonight. We arranged to meet in 30 minutes, as soon as I could change into something nicer. That was the best night of my life. I didn't know what I was doing, and it didn't seem like she did either, so I could tell it would work out. She disarmed me, and with Anna, it was freeing, not scary. We walked into Detroit, and Anna led me to a Chinese place she knew. It was out of my price range, but I paid for it anyway. "How'd you like the food?" asked Anna. I smiled at her, because I noticed how she stretched her oohs out in a way that resembled a Canadian accent, with too much stiff upper lip and teeth. I told her the food was great. It did taste great, since I looked at her the whole time, and my senses got all mixed up. We both must have been single for a long time, because as soon as we left the Chinese place, we went to my apartment. Anna held my hand as we walked. It fit just right. I didn't need to regret having her over when I woke up the next morning, with her still beside me, and she wrapped her arms around me. From then on, she frequented my bed. 2 months later, it was her bed too. Winter. When the frosty weather rolled around, Anna kept me warm, better than any comforter. The blinds in the apartment were always open, and the living room was much more spacious without my stinking recliner in the center of it. With each passing day, I felt more certain that the soulmate drawing was a scam meant to shock me into buying more. I had deleted the email long ago. On a particularly cold morning, I woke to find that Anna had gone to work. Work was canceled for me. I tugged a blanket from the foot of the bed and wrapped it around myself before shuffling into the living room. I smiled when I found Anna's note on the kitchen counter. "Have a good, restful day, my love. See you around 5. Decided to take some overtime today. XO." She always left one. It's not like I'd ever asked her to do it, but she did it anyway. Now, if I ever didn't see Anna or one of her notes, I'd know something was wrong. The forecast predicted it would be too cold to go outside. Anna's work hadn't said anything. She worked at a makeup store in a mall in the city where she'd been working ever since we met. She hated it, but it paid her enough. With the two of us paying rent, there was less pressure. That morning passed like any other. I brewed coffee and sipped it while I gazed out into the picket's yard. It was covered with snow, a mask over the greenery of summer. I traced the journey of the snowflakes to the street and the yards around it. What to do today? Although it was already almost noon. My phone buzzed. I answered the call. It was a hospital in the city. "Hello. You were listed as the emergency contact for Anna Crane." "What do you mean?" "She was in an explosive car crash this morning and sustained serious injuries." I felt my expression breaking. "Well, is she going to live?" "Yes, she's going to live. But you should know." "I need to leave now." The words tumbled out of my mouth, hardly intelligible because of the constriction of my throat. "Tell her I'm on my way." The nurse gave me the location, and I hung up before she said anything else. I threw off my robe and tugged on my winter coat and boots. I tripped on the stairs with my clouded eyes and bruised my shins. I used the railing to wrench myself up and ran 2 blocks in the snow before catching the bus. Tears froze on my cheeks like icy tattoos. I wiped my face on my sleeve and turned towards the window for the entirety of the agonizing bus ride. I almost fell out of the bus when it stopped. Never had I been so uncollected in public. Anna's name rang through my head, punctuated by the sound of her screams and images of her hanging upside down in her burning car, gushing blood. I masked my nerves enough to tell the hospital receptionist who I was and where I needed to be. I took the elevator up. The doors parted to show a hallway with "Burn Unit" written on the wall in bold black lettering, like a brand. My steps echoed as I jogged towards Anna's room. "You're Anna's girlfriend?" asked the nurse who opened the door. "Yes. Can I see her?" The nurse's eyes darted to the side before returning to me. She cleared her throat. "I'm so sorry." "Why? What is it?" "You can see her. However, I should warn you. We needed to do emergency reconstructive surgery." Her eyebrows creased as she led me into the room. "She's just coming to." The nurse slid the papery curtain aside, allowing me to step forward. Anna lay in bed. I'd know her body anywhere. Even through the sheets, I recognized every curve. But when she turned her face towards me, I flinched. It was a face I knew, just not on her. Her slit of a mouth hung open. It looked like it was cut into her. I felt I was losing myself in her dark, shining eyes, which shed one single tear. It must have stung her raw cheek of earthworm pink. I sank to my knees, threw my arms over her body, and wailed. I felt her hand slide into mine, so warm and soft, but I didn't look up. I only cried harder and buried a kiss into the fabric at her side.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. The Spirit Artist was written by Siri Harrison, narrated by Erica Ventura, produced by Carl Hughes, of music by Dark Fantasy Studio and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org. The episode illustration was provided by Luke Spoon of Carry On House. Joshua Boucher is our story programmer, and along with Jasmine Arch and the eyeless ones, Mary Pastrano and Cody Czarzasty, they help to manage our community. And a big thanks to Ben Errington for the ongoing explosion of content he fires out of his social media cannon. Erica Ventura is an artist, mother, bilingual narrator, and a painting instructor. How does she manage it all? No idea, but her artwork can be seen on Instagram at @EFVENTU, or you can visit her artist page on facebook.com/bioartsy. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver, and is brought to you with Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives License. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. Until next time.